God sees your hidden tears. My child, my child, my beloved child. There is something I have been waiting to say to you, not from a distant place, not from somewhere beyond the clouds, but from the place closest to your heart, from the space where your real thoughts live, when the world grows quiet, and there is nothing left to distract you from what you are truly feeling. I have been watching. I have always been watching. Not the way a stranger watches from across the room, not the way a judge watches from behind cold eyes, but the way a father watches when his child is hurting. The way love itself pays attention when it knows something precious is breaking. I need you to hear this. Truly hear it. Not just with your ears, but with the part of you that has been quietly asking for weeks, for months, maybe for years, whether anyone up above actually sees what you carry. I do. I see every bit of it. I see the version of you that shows up in public steady, smiling, composed, and I see the version of you that falls apart the moment the door closes. I see the face you put on for the world, and I see the face you carry alone. I saw the tear you wiped away this morning before anyone could notice. I saw the deep breath you drew before walking into a room full of people because it was the only way to keep yourself together. I saw the moment in the car when you sat in the driveway for 3 full minutes before going inside because you needed those 3 minutes just to survive the rest of the day. I saw the night you turned the faucet on so no one would hear you cry. I saw the text you typed and deleted because you didn't know how to explain what you were feeling without sounding like you were falling apart. I saw the smile you forced at the table when everyone was laughing, and you felt completely removed from all of it, like you were behind glass watching other people live. I saw all of it. I see all of it. And I need you to know the tears that nobody saw were the ones I counted, one by one, like the most precious things in the world, because to me, they are. There is a silence that has surrounded you lately, and I know it has felt like abandonment. I know it has felt like the prayers are going up and nothing is coming back down. I know it has felt like you are standing in an open field calling out and hearing only your own voice echo back. But I need you to hear something, that silence was never emptiness. What you thought was silence was actually preparation. Something has been happening beneath the surface of your life, something you cannot see yet, something you have not been given the eyes to recognize in this moment. But I ask you to keep listening, because before we reach the end of this, you are going to understand something you didn't understand when we began. There is something about the quality of that silence you have been living in. The silence after the prayers, after the trying, after the conversations with people who meant well, but couldn't quite reach the real place that I want to address directly. You have wondered whether you did something wrong, whether there is some failure on your part that explains why the breakthrough has not come, why the provision has not arrived, why the healing has not happened the way you asked for it. I need you to release that question right now, because the answer is not what the enemy has been whispering. The waiting is not punishment. The silence is not judgment. The delay is not evidence of your unworthiness. It is evidence that I am doing something that takes time, something careful, something that cannot be rushed without breaking the very thing it is meant to build. A child in the womb is not failing because the birth hasn't happened yet. The timing of the birth is not a commentary on the worth of the child. It is simply the nature of things that are being formed properly, being prepared fully, being made ready for a world they are about to enter. You are being made ready. There are things you carry that you have never said out loud to anyone. Not to your closest friend, not to your family, not even in the quiet of your own prayers, because somewhere along the way you learned that saying them out loud made them more real, and you were afraid of how real they might become. I know what those things are. I know the weight of them. I know the exact shape of every burden you are holding, and I know how heavy it has gotten in the places you never speak about. I want to speak about them now, because you deserve to feel known. You deserve to feel that someone sees the real version of your life, not the version you curate for the world, not the highlight reel, not the brave face, but the real story, the one with all the uncertainty and the exhaustion and the fear folded into it. There is a mother somewhere listening to this, a woman who wakes up before everyone else in the house and goes to bed after everyone else, who has poured herself into the people she loves until she sometimes wonders whether there is anything left of her that belongs to her. She smiles in the daylight because her children need her to smile. She holds everything together because if she doesn't, who will? But late at night, when the house is finally still, She lies there in the dark and asks quietly, silently, whether anyone sees how tired she truly is. I see you. There is a father somewhere carrying this. A man who took on responsibilities he didn't fully expect, who woke up one day and found himself the only one standing between his children and a world that doesn't slow down for anyone. He doesn't talk about the fear. Men like him don't always have a language for it. But the fear is there, the fear of not being enough, of falling short, of letting down the people who depend on him. He smiles at his kids. He pushes forward. And in the small hours, when no one is watching, he wonders how much longer he can keep this pace. I see you. There is a young person somewhere in this, someone who is supposed to have their whole life ahead of them and knows that is supposed to feel like a good thing, but can't make it feel like a good thing because the path forward is clouded. The direction is uncertain, and every time they try to get their footing, something else shifts beneath them. They smile when their friends talk about the future. They nod along to conversations about plans and possibilities. But inside, there is a quiet panic that they don't know how to name, a fear that everyone else received a map for life that somehow didn't get delivered to them. I see you. There is someone fighting a financial battle that they haven't told their family about. Someone who checks their account balance in secret, who does the math in the middle of the night when sleep won't come, who smiles at the dinner table as if nothing is wrong, because they are trying to protect the people they love from the weight of what is actually happening. I see you. There is someone healing from a betrayal that rearranged everything, someone who trusted completely and was let down in a way that didn't just hurt. It changed how they see the world, how they see themselves, how they understand love and safety and the reliability of people. They are doing the work of healing. They are putting one foot in front of the other, but some nights the wound still opens. Some nights it is like it just happened all over again, and the grief is as fresh as the first day, and they wonder if they will ever stop grieving it. I see you. You smile in public, but I know the real weight underneath. And I need you to hear this, I know. I know all of it, but the pain you carry is not the real story. There is also someone who has been faithful for years, faithfully showing up, faithfully giving, faithfully doing what was right, and who has watched people who seem to be doing far less receive what they had been trusting for. The unfairness of it has sat in the back of their mind like a low-grade ache, one they feel guilty for having, because who are they to question what I do or don't give to other people? They keep that comparison quiet. They push it down. They tell themselves it is not their place, but it is there, and I see it. I understand it, and I am not offended by it. What I want to say to that person is this: your faithfulness has not been invisible. Your consistency in the background, the unapplauded showing up, the private acts of trust that no human witnessed, those are precisely the seeds that grow into the deepest fruit. The harvest that comes from patient, quiet faithfulness is a different quality than what comes from visible, celebrated effort. What is coming for you was grown in the soil of exactly what you have been doing. There is something that I need you to understand, something that changes the way you read everything that has happened to you. Pain, in my hands, has never been without purpose. Difficulty, in my economy, is never simply loss. When I look at your life and I see what you have been through, I do not see destruction. I see a process. I see something being formed that could not have been formed any other way, and I need you to sit with that for a moment, even if it is hard, even if some part of you wants to push back against it, because what I am saying is not a dismissal of what you suffered. I am not asking you to pretend the pain was not real. It was real. Every moment of it was real. But the purpose behind it is also real, and the purpose is greater than the pain. Think about a seed. A seed is placed into the ground, and the ground closes over it. And from the outside, from above the surface, nothing appears to be happening. There is no visible sign of life. There is no movement that the eye can track. And if you did not know anything about seeds, if you did not understand what darkness and pressure and waiting actually do to something that is meant to grow, you might look at that buried seed and conclude that it was dead. You might look at the closed earth and think, nothing. But underneath, where no one is watching, everything is happening. The shell is breaking open. The roots are reaching down. The first green shoot is working its way upward through soil that is dark and resistant and heavy, and it does not stop. It does not surrender. It pushes toward a light it has never seen because the push toward light is written into its very nature. That seed is you. The darkness you have been sitting in is not the end of your story. It is the soil your story is growing in. Think about gold. It does not come out of the earth shining. It comes out rough, embedded in rock, surrounded by everything that is not gold. And to get to what is actually valuable, there has to be fire. There has to be heat, intense enough to burn away everything that is not gold. And that process is not comfortable. It is not gentle, but what emerges from it is something purified, something refined, something worth far more than it was before the fire began. You have been in the fire. I know it doesn't feel like refinement when you are in the middle of it. I know it feels like burning. But I am the one holding the fire, and I know exactly what it is doing to you, and what it is producing in you is greater than anything the fire has taken. Think about clay. The potter does not pick up clay and leave it untouched. The whole point of the potter's hands is to shape, to press and turn and form, to apply pressure in specific places, to collapse what needs to collapse so that something new can rise in its place. The clay does not always understand what the hands are doing. From inside the process, there is no clear view of the finished vessel. But the potter has the whole image in mind from the very beginning. I have always had the whole image of you in mind. You called it breaking. I called it shaping. And I need you to know this. What is being formed inside you right now is greater than what was taken from you. There is also this, and I say it gently, because it requires a certain kind of openness to receive. The person you were before the hard season is not the person who can carry what is coming next. The dreams I have placed in you, the assignment I have prepared for you, the level of influence and impact and purpose that is part of your future, that requires a version of you that the easy path would never have produced. You can want the destination without fully understanding why the road had to go through the valley. You can long for the summit without immediately grasping that the muscles needed to stand there could only be built by the climb. I see the whole geography of your life. I see where you have been, and I see where you are going, and I know with a certainty that transcends everything you can see from where you stand, that every difficult mile of the path you have walked has been navigating you towards something worth every step. I want to talk about the battles no one knows are happening, the ones you fight in silence, the ones that take place behind your eyes while you are nodding and smiling and doing everything that life requires of you. The battles that no one at your job knows about when you walk through the door in the morning. The ones your neighbors don't see when you wave from the driveway. The ones even the people who love you most can't fully see, because there are some things that are too interior, too private, too vulnerable to put into words. The anxiety that visits you in the early morning, before the day has even started, the kind that does not wait for an invitation, that simply arrives and settles over everything with its particular heaviness, turning the simplest decisions into mountains, making the ordinary feel dangerous. You have learned to function inside that anxiety. You have learned to move through your days with it riding along, but it is exhausting in a way that rest doesn't fully fix, because the tiredness is not just in your body, it is in a deeper place, a place that ordinary sleep cannot reach. The mental exhaustion, the kind that comes not from doing too much, but from carrying too much, from the constant internal management of fear and hope and dread and faith all at once, the way you have to tend to your own mind, the way you would tend to something fragile, carefully, strategically, so that it doesn't tip over into the place you are afraid of. There are days when the sheer effort of managing your own interior life leaves you with almost nothing for anything else. The financial pressure that has a way of inserting itself into every other part of life that turns simple moments, a broken appliance, a medical bill, a phone that needs replacing into small crises, that spiral into bigger fears about the future and what the future holds. The rejection you experienced, the door that closed in a way that felt like a verdict about your worth, the person who didn't choose you, the opportunity that went to someone else, the no that arrived when you had been so certain the answer was going to be yes. And then the prayers, the ones you have sent up with everything you have, the ones that came from the deepest, most honest parts of you, the ones where you weren't polished or eloquent, you were just raw and real, and asking with your whole self and the silence that followed them. Others saw your smile. I saw your struggle. Others saw the composed, capable person you present to the world. I saw the moment before the deep breath, the steadying, the choice you made every single morning to get up anyway. I saw the battles you won that no one threw you a parade for. I see every single one of those battles, and I need you to hear this. The battle is closer to ending than you think. And I want to say something about the smiling. I know why you do it. It is not dishonesty. It is protection. You smile to protect the people you love from the weight of what you are actually carrying. You smile because you have learned that the world does not always have the capacity to hold the full truth of what someone is going through, and so you carry it yourself, quietly, in the interior spaces, and you show the world what it can handle. That is a kind of love. That self-contained carrying is a form of tenderness toward the people around you. But I want you to know that you don't have to protect me from any of it. You don't have to edit what you bring to me. You don't have to make yourself more acceptable or more coherent or more spiritually composed before you come. Come with the whole thing. The anger and the doubt, and the exhaustion and the confusion and the ugly, wordless grief that doesn't make any sense and doesn't fit neatly into a prayer. I can hold all of it. I am the only one who actually can. The enemy of your soul has spoken to you in a voice that sounded reasonable. That is the cruelest part about lies. They don't always arrive screaming. Sometimes they come quietly, in the middle of the night, in the exhausted hours, dressed in the language of logic and evidence, using the facts of your life as fuel for conclusions that are nowhere near the truth. The voice told you that you are not enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, not talented enough, not equipped for what you are trying to do. It pointed to your past failures like evidence in a case, like proof that the verdict was already in, like the matter had been settled and the only reasonable thing to do was accept it. That was never my voice. The voice told you that nobody cares, that the people around you have their own lives and their own problems, and that your struggle doesn't really register on anyone's radar, that you are essentially alone in this, that if you disappeared into your difficulty, no one would truly notice the depth of it. It wrapped that lie in enough observable truth to make it convincing. That was never my voice. The voice told you, nothing will change. It took the length of your waiting, the accumulation of days that turned into weeks, that turned into months, and it used that length as an argument. Look how long it has been. Look at all the prayers that went up and came back unanswered. What makes you think tomorrow is going to be any different from today? That was never my voice. And then, the deepest lie, the one aimed at the most important thing, at the relationship that makes all other things bearable. The voice said I had forgotten you, that I was present for others but somehow absent from your specific situation. Not one syllable of that was from me. The reason the attacks became stronger is because your breakthrough is near. The intensity of the pressure is not a sign that you are losing. It is a sign that something worth fighting against is on the horizon of your life, something close enough now that the forces working against you are getting desperate. There was a moment when you almost stopped. Not dramatically. There was no single crisis that brought you to the edge. It was a slow accumulation, a gradual erosion, the kind that happens when small disappointments stack on top of each other over enough time. You were close to telling yourself a story about your life that would have become self-fulfilling. You were close to accepting a version of your future that was far smaller than what I had in mind. The enemy knew that if you accepted that smaller story, he wouldn't need to do anything else. The battle was never really about your circumstances. It was always about your belief. If he could get you to stop believing, he could stop the breakthrough without any further effort. That is why the attack on your mind has been so relentless. That is why the lies have been so persistent. Something worth protecting is inside you. While you have been in the waiting, while you have been carrying the weight of the unanswered and the unresolved, while you have been doing the hard, unglamorous work of simply not quitting, I have been working. Not with fanfare, not with visible signs that would have been easy for you to track and hold on to. I understand how much harder the invisible work is to trust, but I need to tell you what has been happening, even though you couldn't see it, because you deserve to know that the silence was not inactivity. There are people I have been positioning in your life, people you haven't met yet, people whose paths I have been redirecting toward yours. They don't know why they made the decision they made, the one that is going to bring them into your story. They just know that something nudged them in a certain direction. But I know. I arranged that nudge. There are doors that have been quietly opening in the background, doors that haven't swung wide yet. but opening they are. And when the timing is exactly right, you are going to walk through without fully understanding how long they have been unlocking for you. There are answers already in motion. Prayers you prayed months ago, prayers you may have even stopped expecting answers to, are finding their way back to you right now, through channels you cannot see. Think about what a gardener does in winter. From the outside, a winter garden looks like nothing. The ground is cold and hard, and there is no visible green. But the gardener spent the fall laying the groundwork, working the soil, planting bulbs deep, creating conditions for growth. The gardener looks at that frozen surface in January and smiles because he knows what is under there, what is waiting, what is going to emerge when the season turns. I am that gardener. Think about the root system of an old tree before the tree ever appears above the ground. Before it sends its first shoot into the air, the roots are already established underground, wide, deep, strong, extensive. The visible tree is the last thing to show up. Everything that makes the tree possible has already been quietly built before any of it is visible. Your root system has been growing. Just because you cannot see it does not mean I am not doing it. Soon and I use that word deliberately. Not as a vague comfort, but as a real promise soon. What has been hidden will become visible. There are resources being assigned to your situation that you cannot see or verify. There are conversations happening not between people, not in any boardroom or meeting room, but in the invisible places where the real decisions about your life are made, and those conversations have your name in them. The answer that is coming for you is not a small answer. It is not a partial provision. It is not a consolation prize for the years of waiting. What I am preparing for you is proportional to what you have been through, and you have been through enough that what is coming is going to make you understand, finally and completely, why the path had to go the way it went. I want to talk to you about your tears, not to dwell in the pain of them, but to tell you something true about what they have done, what they have built, what they have become in the economy of everything I am doing in your life. Nothing has been wasted. Not one drop. I know that might sound like the kind of thing that is easy to say and hard to believe when you are in the middle of the crying, when your face is wet and your chest is tight, and the grief or the fear or the exhaustion is so present that the idea of it serving any purpose feels almost insulting. I am not asking you to feel grateful for the tears while you are in the middle of them. I am asking you, from the distance of someone who can see the whole story, to hear me say, they were not wasted. Every night you lay awake staring at the ceiling. Every morning you woke up and had to drag yourself into the day when every part of you wanted to stay down that produced something in you. That built a patience in you that comfortable seasons cannot build. Patience that is not just the ability to wait, but the ability to wait while still believing, while still choosing to trust, even when the evidence is thin and the silence is loud and the doubt is right there at the door. Your tears built compassion in you. The depth at which you have suffered has given you the ability to sit with other people in their suffering in a way that someone who hasn't been through darkness simply cannot sit. When someone comes to you in their worst moment, you will not flinch. You will not offer hollow words. You will be able to look them in the eyes from a place of real understanding and say, I have been in this place. I know what it feels like to be here, and I found a way through, and I will sit here with you until you do too. That is a ministry forged in your pain. Your tears built a faith in you that fair weather believing could never build. The faith that is in you now is not the faith that was in you before the hard seasons began. That earlier faith was sincere, but it was untested. What you have now is the faith that held on even when holding on was the hardest thing. Think about David, a young man who sat in fields alone, who fought battles in the dark when no one was watching, who wept in caves with enemies at the door, who poured out his desperation in words that still echo through thousands of years. He didn't become the person who could handle the throne by living a comfortable life. Think about Joseph thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, unjustly imprisoned, forgotten by people who promised to remember him. Year after year of circumstances that looked nothing like the dream he had been given. But every injustice was positioning. Every false accusation was navigation. Every dark year was moving him toward the moment when he would be exactly the right person, in exactly the right place, to do exactly what was needed. Think about Hannah, A woman who wept so deeply in the temple that she was mistaken for someone out of her mind. A woman who kept coming back to the place of prayer even when every year brought the same painful answer. A woman who kept knocking even when the door seemed permanently sealed, until the day it opened. Until what she had been told was impossible became the child she held in her arms. Every tear she shed watered a future she couldn't see yet. Every tear you have shed has watered a future you cannot see yet. The harvest is closer than the tears. There is a version of you on the other side of this season that you have not met yet. A version shaped and refined and deepened by everything you have been through. A version that carries something the world needs. The suffering did not only build things in you, it cleared things out. It removed what was not actually yours, the false confidence, the dependence on things that were never meant to be permanent foundations, the attachments to outcomes that were keeping you from the better thing. Sometimes, what feels like loss is clearing. Sometimes what feels like the world narrowing down is actually the path becoming more precise, more targeted, more accurately pointed toward the specific purpose you were created for. Let me describe something, not with specific details, because I know your story is particular to you, but let me describe a feeling, the feeling of receiving. Think about a morning when the phone rings and the voice on the other end brings news you had stopped expecting. Not dramatic, not loud, just a quiet shift, the kind that starts small and then you realize how completely it changes everything. Think about a door that opens in a way that could only be described as arranged, not forced, not manipulated, not the result of your own striving, but simply given. A clean and unexpected provision that bears the fingerprints of something larger than coincidence. Think about the moment when a relationship that has been strained or broken reaches the place where something genuinely heals. Not a surface healing, not a temporary truce, but the real kind. The kind where both people are changed, where the wound becomes a scar, and the scar becomes a story of restoration. Think about the physical sensation of a burden lifting, the specific feeling of something that has been pressing down on you releasing its weight, and the strange lightness that comes after, the kind where you almost don't know what to do with yourself, because you have been carrying it so long you forgot what it felt like not to. Think about a healing that comes from somewhere medicine couldn't reach. Think about a provision that arrives before the deadline you were afraid of. Think about an open door in a season when you had been walking into so many closed ones that you had almost forgotten what it felt like to step through into something new. These are not fantasy. These are not false hope. These are the kinds of things I do. This is the kind of God I am. And what I need you to hold on to with everything you have is this. Soon. Very soon. Not as a vague someday that dissolves into the distance the closer you get to it, but as a real and approaching moment. As something that is already in motion and already on its way to you. But before it arrives, there is one thing I need you to do. There is someone right now who is on the edge of receiving something they have been asking for since they can remember. And the reason they almost won't recognize it when it comes is that they have been expecting it to arrive in a particular form, through a particular door, in a particular way. And it is going to arrive differently, not worse. Not less than what was asked for, but differently. Through a person they didn't expect, through a circumstance that surprised them, through a reversal of something that looked like defeat. I want to prepare you for that possibility. The possibility that when the answer comes, it comes in wrapping you didn't anticipate. Don't reject it because it doesn't look like what you imagined. Don't miss the provision because you were watching the wrong door. I know what you need better than you know what you need. The answer I am sending is shaped for the real you, the full you. The you I created and know completely, not just for the version of your need that you have been able to articulate in prayer. What is coming is going to fit. It is going to fit in a way that makes you say, this could only have been from God. This is too precisely right to be anything else. This has his fingerprints on it. That moment is closer than you think. The phone call, the conversation, the letter, the door closer, the healing, the resolution, the confirmation, the peace, closer. I am not making you a vague promise. I am telling you something specific. It is closer than it has ever been, and you are closer to it than you have ever been. Don't you dare give up now. I need you to hear that with the same directness and the same love with which I am saying it. Do not give up now. Not in this moment. Not in this season. Not when you are this close. I know how tired you are. I know that you have been telling yourself for weeks, maybe for months, that you just need one more push, one more stretch, one more period of holding on, and that it has kept not arriving, that the breakthrough has kept being just out of reach, and that the accumulated weight of all that almost there has left you genuinely exhausted in a way that rest alone cannot fix. I know all of that, and I am not dismissing it. But I am asking you to do something that will cost you something. I am asking you to choose, one more time, not to quit. Don't stop praying. I know the prayers feel like they are going into a void. I know there are nights when you run out of words, and all you can do is sit in the quiet with the intention of prayer even when the articulation won't come. That counts. The silence that is aimed at me counts. The tired, wordless reaching in my direction counts just as much as the most eloquent petition you have ever lifted. Don't stop trusting. There will be moments when the circumstances are going to try to talk you out of your faith. When the evidence of the visible world is going to make a very reasonable case for why you should stop believing, the case is going to feel tight, the logic is going to seem sound. But the visible world is not the whole story, and I am asking you to hold on to what you know about me when what you see is trying to override it. Don't let the pain write the last line of your story. The pain is in your story, but it is not the whole story, and it is not the final chapter. A life defined only by pain would not include the chapters that are still being written, the ones that are coming, the ones that are going to reframe everything that came before them. You have survived every single hard day that has ever come for you. Think about that carefully. Every day that felt unsurvivable, you survived it. Every morning that felt impossible, you got up anyway. Every moment that felt like the end was not the end. There is a track record here, and the track record says something important. You are still standing. You are still here. You are still choosing to keep going. That is not a small thing. That is evidence of something in you that doesn't break as easily as the enemy hoped. I place that in you. Now, let me tell you what happens next. There is something I want you to do today. Not a dramatic act. Not a grand gesture. Just this. Let yourself be cared for. Let down the guard. Just for this moment. And let what I have been saying find its way past the defenses into the actual interior of you, where the real need is. You have been strong for so long. You have been the one holding things up. But even the strongest things need to be held sometimes. Let me hold you. Let this be the moment you stop trying to figure it all out and simply rest in the fact that I have it. You don't have to know the plan. You don't have to see the whole road. You just have to take the next step, and I will be there for every step after that. My child. My beloved child, I am making you a promise, and I am making it with the full weight of who I am behind it. I will not abandon you. I have not abandoned you. There has not been a single moment in all of this, in all the nights and the tears and the silence and the waiting when I left the room. I have been here through every single moment of it. When you felt most alone, I was closest. When the silence was loudest, I was most present. When you asked where I was and heard nothing back, I was right there in the asking with you, holding you in a way you couldn't feel but that was absolutely real, more real than anything visible. I have not forgotten you, not for an hour, not for a minute. Your name is not on a list somewhere that I occasionally get around to checking. You are not a number in a system. You are known. You are named. You are seen with a clarity and a completeness that no human eye can match. I know the thoughts you had this morning before you were fully awake. I know the fear that visits you in the specific quiet of 3 in the morning when the world is asleep and the darkness seems to have a weight of its own. I know the longing that lives underneath your daily life, the thing you most deeply want that you have almost stopped letting yourself want because the wanting has felt too costly, because hope deferred has a particular kind of ache, and you have decided it is easier not to hope too loudly. I know it all. And I care about every single piece of it more than you know how to care about yourself. I have not missed a single tear. Not one. Every tear you have cried has been received not as an interruption, not as weakness, but as communication, as prayer, as something precious and honest and real. The testimony of the scriptures says that I collect every tear in a bottle, that everyone is recorded. That is not poetry for the sake of poetry. That is the actual nature of how carefully, how tenderly, how completely I hold your life. Not one tear has fallen to the ground unnoticed. Think of the dawn. The deepest darkness before dawn is the hour just before the light comes. And anyone who has been awake in those dark early hours knows that the darkness at 4 in the morning is a particular kind of darkness, dense and total and heavy, in a way that makes it genuinely hard to believe that light is ever coming again. But dawn comes. It has never once failed to come, and when it arrives, it doesn't explain itself or apologize for how long the night was. It simply comes quietly at first, a thinning at the far edge of the sky, a gray that turns to blue, that turns to gold, and the world that was swallowed in darkness is suddenly bathed in something warm and real and undeniable. Your dawn is coming. Think of a father who stood every morning at the far edge of his property with his eyes on the horizon, watching for the shape of someone he loved to appear in the distance. And the day that shape appeared small at first, getting larger, unmistakably the person he had been watching for, the father, did not wait for his son to complete the walk home. He ran. He gathered his robe, and he ran toward his child, before his child had even finished the approach, before the rehearsed apology could even begin. He ran and he embraced, and he called for celebration before the son had said a single word. That is the nature of how I receive you. You do not have to have it all figured out before you come to me. You do not have to arrive cleaned up and composed and full of the right words. You can come as you are, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the tears, in the middle of the doubt, still carrying the questions that don't have answers yet, and I will run toward you. I am already running. Think of light coming through a window in the early morning, that specific quality of light that comes at a low angle and fills a room with something luminous, something that says, a new day is real, a new beginning is possible, the world is made fresh. That is the quality of what I am bringing into your life. Not something forced or manufactured, but something that comes the way morning comes naturally, inevitably, unstoppably. Something is shifting. Something has already shifted, in the invisible places, in the places behind what you can see, and it is working its way toward the surface of your life, like that first green shoot working upward, through cold ground, and it is going to arrive not as a reward that you somehow earned by suffering enough or believing hard enough, but as grace, pure, undeserved, abundant grace from a Father whose love for you has no ceiling and no floor and no edges and no conditions. Here is the truth I want to leave living inside you. The tears you hid became the prayer I answered. The nights you cried alone became the foundation of the morning I am preparing for you. The suffering that no one witnessed became the raw material for the testimony that someone else is going to desperately need to hear from your mouth. Someone is going to sit exactly where you are sitting right now, in the dark, in the waiting, in the weight of it, and they are going to need someone who has been through the dark to tell them the truth about what is on the other side. That person is going to be you. Your story is not finished. The chapter you are in is not the last chapter. The tears are not the final word. I am the final word. And my final word over your life is not grief. It is not defeat. It is not the long silence that has made you wonder. Let me close this with a prayer for you now. Not a formal recitation, but something as real and close and unhurried as everything I have been saying. I pray for the peace that passes understanding, not the peace that comes from circumstances resolving, but the peace that comes from knowing who holds the circumstances, the peace that can be present in the middle of the unsolved and the unfinished and the still waiting. I pray it settles over you now, in this exact moment, in this exact place where you are. I pray for strength, the real kind, the actual resource of it, not the performance of having it together, but the deep fuel that keeps you moving even when everything on the surface says stop. I pray for hope that comes back to life, not manufactured, not performed, but the kind that has been surviving underground through winter and is now ready to push into spring, the kind you can feel returning, warm and tentative and real. I pray for a faith that does not bend under the weight of what you have been through, a faith that has been tested and has held and holds even now in this moment, even when the holding is hard. And I pray that from this day forward, when the night comes again, because nights will come, you will remember what I told you here. You will remember that the silence was preparation. You will remember that the tears were counted. You will remember that the Father sees and knows and has not stopped working, not for a single moment. My child, my beloved child, The story is not ending in tears. It is ending in testimony. And I want to add this, because I know that after this, after these words, the day will continue, and the circumstances will still be what they are, and the challenges will not have evaporated. I want to give you something to carry forward into the ordinary hours of your ordinary life. When the doubt comes back, and it will come, because doubt is not the absence of faith, it is the presence of faith being tested when it comes back. Remember this moment. Remember that you heard something true. Remember that the Father knows your name and your situation and the exact weight of every burden and the precise nature of every fear, and that He spoke into it directly. When the night feels longest, remember that dawn has a perfect track record. When the silence feels most complete, remember that silence in my hands is preparation, not absence. When the enemy comes back with the old lies about your inadequacy and your forgottenness and the futility of holding on, remember what I told you today, and hold on. There is a life on the other side of this waiting that has your name on it. A life fuller and deeper and more genuinely yours than anything the enemy tried to offer as a substitute. A life built not in spite of what you have been through, but in some deep and irreversible way. Because of it, that life is coming. You are walking toward it right now, in this very moment, whether you can feel the movement or not.